Good morning. Welcome to the Burning Man edition of Survive and Thrive. Okay, this is the situation, folks. We have 70,000 some odd people stuck out in the middle of the desert in what was a dry lake bed and is now not so dry. Authorities have told them to shelter in place, conserve water and food, and there's more rain on the way. Now, I'm reading a lot of stuff on social media about what people should do and how people should act. And first off, what they should be doing, what anyone should be doing in this situation, is following what the authorities tell them to do. If the authorities told you to shelter in place and conserve food and water, you should be sheltering in place and conserving food and water. There's a lot of talk on social media about, hiking through the desert in the middle of the night. For the love of God, do not do that. You don't know where you are. It's very easy to get lost. It's very easy to not understand the conditions that you're in. And it's very easy to cause an emergency and put your life at risk or the life of other people. I see this every time in a disaster, and we should know better. I mean, it's America these days, right? Anytime something happens, everyone becomes an expert at that thing immediately. But do not go hiking out into the mud, essentially, in the middle of the night, trying to do 6 miles. Some of you will make it. Some of you will not make it. You don't want to be the people that cause an additional emergency for what's going on out there. Emergency services are already stretched to their limit. You have more rain coming. So, what do we do if we're in that situation? Oh, and do not wrap your feet with plastic before going on a 6-mile hike. I saw that on social media today. Somebody was advising that. As a former infantryman, I can tell you that that is the worst possible thing you can do for your feet. They'll slip inside your boots. They'll slip inside your socks. You'll end up with giant blisters. A 6-mile hike through mud's going to be rough enough. You'll probably end up losing your shoes. Just don't. So like I was saying, what can you do? Well, you can stay put. And what we're hearing is that there's people getting hypothermia, and there's some other issues going on there. There's going to be some issues with hygiene here soon. So stay put and stay dry. If you have a tent, if you have a RV, if you have a vehicle, it's really important in these situations to keep yourself and your clothing dry. And if your clothing's wet and you don't have proper shelter, your chances of catching hypothermia are greatly increased. So don't be going out and walking around and getting wet and standing in the rain. Just stay put. I can't stress that enough. So, let's talk about walking in mud. How do we walk in mud? Well, how you walk in mud is that you want to get like a walking stick. Anything will work really as long as it's, goes up to about shoulder height and is light. So ski poles, tent poles, poles to set up, awnings, like all that stuff will work great for that. You want to lean forward as you walk. You want to take deliberate steps. You want to go in toe first, then bring the rest of your foot down, then pull it out, then go in toe first. Walking in mud's really, really hard. It's physically exhausting, and you're going to end up with mud on the bottom of your shoes, which are going to make your shoes weigh 3 or 4 times as much as they normally do. Again, I don't advise this. There's also what you can do is essentially, if you take a piece of wood and you cut it about 2 to 3 inches longer on the front and back, of your foot and make sure it's about an inch or two wider than your foot, you can take a couple pieces of rope and tie that wood to the bottom of your shoe. And it kind of works like a snowshoe for mud. They work really well. And it's just a flat plank that's a little bit bigger than your shoe. And what that does is it's going to spread your weight out over the mud more. But again, my best advice is to stay put, stay in shelter that's dry, keep yourself dry, keep your clothing dry, and don't be out walking around. This is a dangerous situation. Don't become a victim.